Do you want to improve your finances? That is the focus why we built this educational channel, to give you financial well-being as well as a lot of literacy. Now, when it comes to financial well-being, this means having the ability to manage your income, manage your investments, manage your spending, also budgeting property. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at 7 signs that show that you're financially healthy. So let's go ahead and get into this. With the first one, you don't try to signal your wealth. Now, of course, this is lifestyle creep. This is keeping up with the Joneses. We have seen this so many different times. It is utilizing big ticket items to flaunt exactly how much money you have when it is a zero-sum game. When you think of someone who buys a Lamborghini, that's buying a Ferrari, most of the time they're looking to show outsiders exactly what they can do in the money that they do have, even if they might not be financially stable. So for me, honestly, looking at this, borrowing large sums of money is different and really expensive things to give you the status or give you the feel, while you should be seeking your financial freedom and the peace of mind through building wealth, which is a positive sum game, not that zero sum game that you're putting in there. Now, of course, if you have the money to pay for it cash, that's kind of a different story and a different level of a status of wealth. But a lot of people that I see that are purchasing these very high-end cars are taking out loans, and of course, do have to qualify for loans, and unfortunately some of them don't. Keeping up with the Joneses can be one of the absolute biggest financial mistakes that we see today. Number 2, having an emergency fund of at least $2K. That is right, $2,000 will be the rainy day fund that you can tap in if you do have an emergency. Now, Bankrate says over 57% of Americans cannot afford an emergency with $1,000, which is kind of crazy. And of course, when you think of financial institutions through the high yield savings accounts, as well as CD rates, most Americans that can save money up in there can now get paid a pretty decent rate of return for holding money in there. Focusing on that emergency fund of at least $1,000 is the absolute priority when it comes to that financial education, and also the financial counseling piece, which I love to do. Have to make sure that you're saving some money. And again, this is something that you have to focus on, really the first step. If you look at Dave Ramsey, the 7 baby steps, number 1 is getting at least that $1,000 in there. This is going to be the rainy day. This is going to be the emergency fund that we're looking at to cover those expenses. Number 3, you're able to meet your savings and your spending targets. This is where the budget comes in. This is where the saving plan comes in. This is the ability to track your expenses. And honestly, I cannot stress this enough. When it comes to building out a budget or a savings plan, it is a life-changing experience when you start sticking to it. You can see a lot of ways that you can cut expenses. You see a lot of ways and you notice things that you might not notice if you do not track this. Again, going back to that financial education and counseling piece, this is where people really do miss the boat. I see a lot of individuals when we sit down at our first meetings, we go over exactly what the program is going to provide, what it is, what it isn't, and also start with filling out the budget. I give them the budget to fill out either together, bringing in statements, or filling it out themselves. And at that point, I usually do not see individuals back, which is kind of sad, but unfortunately, that is where they do look. Now, of course, this is big when it comes to knowing exactly where you're utilizing money. Is it impulse purchases? Is it regular everyday purchases that are really going in hurting your budget? Where can you save money? Where can you cut expenses? Where can you identify ways to make more income while cutting back? So really doing both sides. If you can earn more income in that pot while cutting your expenses in that second part, it can really give you a third bucket that can be very beneficial to having. Number 4, living below your means. This is another one, not a very extraordinary, not a very glamorous life. Spending more than you make. That is very fundamental, very basic. When you make more than you spend, or you live below your means, it gives you the ability to repay debt. It gives you the ability to invest. It gives you the ability to use your money in a much smarter way. That way, when you're looking at retirement, when you're looking at larger purchases, you have the ability to have at least some money, whether it's a down payment. And of course, when you're getting into retirement, making sure you have enough money to last all of those retirement years. Looking at number 5, you keep your debt manageable. High interest credit card, we talk about this a lot, is the absolute dent in your finance. It is the one that will tank your finances, and it will tank it very fast. When you start looking at Experian, average credit card balances are about 8K. 8 to 10K are average, which is kind of crazy to think that the average household owns and really manages $10,000 plus in credit card debt. When you start coupling on the 20 to 25% interest, it is crazy how much money is going towards interest. And of course, Every dollar that you're putting towards interest, every dollar you're putting into those credit cards means that that dollar you cannot put somewhere else. It is not the debt repayment. It is not the investing, the savings, because you're giving money back to financial institutions. As we get into number 6, you set your own standard for success. Now, this is something that I really focus on, avoiding the temptation to compare yourself. Again, keeping up with the Joneses, lifestyle creep, whatever it is. It is really about your own finances. For my wife and I, we now have cars that are 8 years old. That's right. There's going to be a point where we're going to have to buy some new used vehicles because we do not buy new. The sticker price, the shock is there when you look at the monthly payment. We buy a car that is a year or two old, lease turn-ins, things of that nature that have very low mileage, where if you buy a car that is 2 years old that, let's say, has 12 to 15,000 miles, the value that you're gonna get out of that, and doing the loan for 60 months. This is another part where a lot of people really do miss the boat, is if you're taking a loan out for 60 months, great, that's where it is. Even if you could do a payment a little bit less, of course, that is gonna work. When you start looking at loans that are 72 months, 84 months, 96 months. I have even seen places that are doing 120 months for a loan payment. So you're leasing your car or essentially financing your car for a 10-year period, which means at a 60-month payment, you can't afford your car. So you're stretching out the term to cover the payment and make it affordable, which means you're buying too much car and you have to look at something that is a little bit more affordable. This is where the difference comes between spending, $20,000, $30,000 on a very reliable car that you're going to have 8 to 10 years, or spending the new price tag of the 60 to 80,000 for that exact same vehicle just because it has the new car smell. For me, absolutely not. I will buy used. And of course, not only buying the used vehicles, as we do put money down, or we just pay for it in its entirety, meaning we have no car payment. You know what? If a car out the door is $20,000 and I give the salesman $20,000, I'm done. That is the end of our relationship. That is the end of our transaction. There is no interest accumulated where I'm going to pay $22,000, $24,000, $25,000 on that car. That is only worth $20,000 that I bought it for. It is a life changer and a game changer when you can pay for the vehicle and pay for it in its entirety. And the final one we look at is building your net worth steadily. This is where really the financial health comes in, is knowing your wealth is going up over time. This is going to be, of course, your investments count. It is also going to be the investment in a home, the appreciation of assets that you have. But this, again, is something important to remember with a vehicle. When you look at a vehicle, it is the biggest appreciating asset that we do have, meaning the longer that you hold onto that car, the more miles you put on that car, most of the time, it is going to really depreciate. And if it is your regular everyday driver, of course, there are going to be depreciating assets like this one. You want to focus on and you want to build things that are going to give you appreciation as building in value over a number of years. Now, when we start looking at some of the biggest really thieves when it comes to this is debt. Debt is the biggest thing, credit card debt, even looking at a mortgage loan, looking at your auto loans, even though some of them are an absolute necessity, they do have a tendency to take and remove a lot of the debt and the power that you have to go ahead and build this. Now, when it comes to net worth, of course, when you're putting money in investment accounts, when you're putting into 401ks, IRAs, HSAs, all of those are going to grow. All of those are going to build that net worth, and it is going to steadily produce as you're getting paid. And of course, you want to make sure that it's going in the right direction and ensuring that you show all 7 signs when it comes to financial health. Even though a lot of people don't feel like it, it is still there. So guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.